Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to talk about the ending actually of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon episode 3 here. And wow, this was absolutely incredible. They built up the tension here so well. So before going further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all of my Walking Dead content like this. And obviously this does contain spoilers for the episode, but I'm sure you're all aware of that and would likely watch the episode since the episode just came out. But let's talk about this here. So in this episode, we saw Daryl at the very end, and it's sort of the cliffhanger to the episode, actually. Well, not cliffhanger, but it's the way that the episode ends. And Daryl actually goes after a couple of people here from the villain community called El Alcazar. And so I'm actually really interested in how they're going to respond to that, if they're even going to know what happened, because I feel like they're probably not going to know what happened. I did notice that at the table there was like 4 or 5 of them, and only 3 went after Daryl. And so I think that, at some point they'll be wondering, well, what happened or whatever, right? And they all saw that someone pointed at Daryl. So I think Daryl might get in trouble still. Maybe something happens, but that's not the point here anyways. I wanted to talk about his mindset here. Like, Daryl really could have saved him or could have done something here where it was just more of what Daryl, I guess, has been like lately. But Daryl didn't do that in a situation here where this person really needed help and obviously was going to get eaten by walkers. Daryl just let that person die, literally just let him die. And it literally was like a Lion King moment, which was crazy. Honestly, I was not expecting this from Daryl. And Daryl's done a lot of that in this episode where he's acting very angry and upset. And he's just doing things now where it's like, I don't care anymore. I just want to get home. I will do what it takes to survive. I will do what it takes to get home. This person here, I'll save him, but he could start stuff afterwards. And obviously there's all of that. And so Daryl's just like, no, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not going to go through a situation like that and then be forced to have to deal with that after, because that would be horrible to deal with, right? Like, to deal with the whole community coming after him, with, the king also being very upset. It was very simple, I think, for Daryl in that situation to be like, no. And honestly, it didn't even look like Daryl was like thinking about, should I do this or not? It seemed like Daryl was almost enjoying it. Like, he was just like, it didn't seem like Daryl even had a hard time with it. It really just seemed like he was like, you know what? This is going to be awesome kind of thing. And he just like watched him die. Like, there was no just like, I can't believe I just did that. And like, oh, that's sad. I know that they've done things like that a lot in The Walking Dead. And so not everything's going to be surprising, but his reaction here is very much just like, yeah, I did that. That's what you get for doing all of that and whatever. And it's just like, it's a crazy difference with Daryl because he's kind of reminding me of Rick Grimes from season 5. Now, I don't know if we're going to get that this season, but, in The Walking Dead season 5, Rick went absolutely insane because his plan, well, at least he told that to Carol and I think to everyone else, but I believe Carol for sure was there, that he was going to take over Alexandria. They were all going to do that. I think Daryl might have been there as well. But that was the plan. They were going to take over Alexandria. And I mean, it was kind of a, villain, mindset to have. Like, he went there, they're living there all peaceful, and he was just going to take everything over. And so that's what happened. The whole Pete thing just sort of blew up there and he went absolutely insane. And he was just like, you think you know how to survive this and that, nothing. And he just went absolutely insane. Obviously, one of the best scenes of The Walking Dead ever, right? And so I think Rick in that moment was just more desperate to find some sort of peaceful place that, he wanted to find happiness for Judith and for Carl. And so I think it really was just that. His mindset was just very much, we're just going to do this and that, and we're strong, right? Like, he was almost so full of himself at that point. It was just like, I'm done with this. I'm just going to do this and that because I know, how to survive and do this. And obviously in the end, I would say he was still right. Like, that's the craziest thing about that mindset is like that mindset, I don't know if it's right, but it keeps you alive, right? And it keeps a lot of people alive. So maybe there's issues with how you led or this and that, but the people that you care about, they're alive and the future is going to be amazing sort of thing, right? So I think for Daryl here, he could be going through a very similar mindset where after Isabel's death, it really, like, Norman Reedus has been talking about that a lot in interviews where the death of Isabel and the effect that's going to have on Daryl is going to be a big part of season 3. So I'm expecting that to play a role here. And I think we're seeing that in episode 2 here. I think he's angry. I think that seeing Roberto and Justina all happy, seeing all of these people just kind of happy like that is, really frustrating and it's angering him. And I think a moment like this obviously is where he's, I mean, obviously really mad and angry, right? And I think that that's just, it's blowing up like that. Like everything's boiling up to a point where he's just losing it. And I think that that could be something that we see a lot more of this season, where he's just ignoring a lot of stuff. And I don't know, maybe at some point this season, he does just sort of blow up and yell at everyone. But I do think that Isabel's death is making him very angry and just not caring anymore. Because even Carol has noticed, like, there's been a slight change here. If you notice in the very beginning of this episode, when Daryl, you know, he pointed his gun at Roberto and was like, take us to your community. Like, I don't care what you say, you're taking me there. Carol just kind of looked at Daryl and was just like, you know, do we really need to be doing that? And I think she kind of understood that's why she didn't say anything. But I think she was kind of surprised by Daryl doing that, because the way the episode really, you know, focuses and highlights that moment. And that was a directing choice. Like, they really highlighted that moment, and the music and everything kind of changed. Like, Daryl is definitely going down, I don't want to say a villain arc. Like, it's easy to say that right now, but I think it's just going to be a bit more of an angry, just like, I guess he's mourning Isabel's death. And I think maybe he has to accept the fact that he actually felt something for her, right? And I think maybe that's just something he's not used to. And it's like, well, you know, I had that and now it's gone. I'm not going to find that ever again. Like, now what's going to happen kind of thing, right? So I think that's why he's really angry. And I think that's why this scene was just so shocking. I really was not expecting Daryl to be like a full-blown almost villain in a sense. Obviously he's not, but what he did there was pretty messed up. Like, I'm trying to think of some other characters and what they've done in situations like this. We've always said, like, all the time, like, wow, I can't believe you did that. And so it just really tells me that I think Daryl's decision making this season, and we'll see where this goes throughout the rest of season 3, but I think he's not going to think twice about a lot of stuff. Honestly, it's just going to be like, no, we're going to do this. All right, I'm going to go and do this. Like, it's just that. Like, we need to do this thing. It's going to be really hard. All right, well, we're just going to do it. Like, it's almost like a Shane mentality, right? Like, that was the mentality that Shane had way back in the day. And I think for Daryl to have that now, like, again, I still think that Shane was right in season 2. It's one of those things that is so tricky, right? Because when you look back to season 2, Shane, I would say it was like, it's so hard to, you know, to keep Randall alive. Like, obviously you don't want to, you know, get rid of somebody, but it was just something that would have kept everyone safe. And if Randall went somewhere else and there was another community out there, that would have been really bad for the farm and everyone there, because obviously another community would have been there. And it's not like they had a bunch of weapons or anything. Like, they were just on the farm. So I think that Shane was right there, and it's a really hard decision to make, but you're trying to survive. And it's a world where there's no laws at all. There's no one there to protect you. You're totally on your own. And I just think that Shane was right in that situation. And I think Rick struggles with a lot of that. And I think he always has. And again, there's that balance in between that, right? That's why I still think, you know, at the end of The Ones Who Live, where Rick, you know, he didn't want to listen to what Beale was saying about the 14-year plan. Like, I think what he did there, maybe Beale was being a little bit harsh with it, but I still think that there's some, I guess, real legitimacy to what he said, because I do think that could be something that we see in the future. Like, you know, resources are running out everywhere. And that could have been a teaser from Gimple to set up the future Walking Dead stories, where it's like, yeah, things are going good right now, but resources are going to start running out. Like, a lot of these communities here, they're going to start to get really desperate and all that. And I wonder if that's something that Rick is going to have to deal with. Like, that's just the future here. Things aren't ever going to be the same, but resources are running out. And so that is going to be a problem, right? And I think you have to have a balance there, honestly, with everything. And I think they definitely did really good here. Like, there definitely is a balance, I would say, here with Daryl anyways. Like, he's more angry, he's doing all of this, but I think it will help him out. It just depends if it gets worse, if it's just like building up a lot more, because whenever he sees like Roberto and Justina or like things like that, he seems really bothered by it. Like, I don't think he's thinking like, oh, I really want that or this and that. Like, I actually think he's just like frustrated. Like, it's upsetting him. And I think it's starting to turn into anger and all of that. So we'll see where this goes. Honestly, I think if he's really upset and angry, that's going to make episode 5 really awesome, where he's out there all alone in the desert trying to survive on a motorcycle. There's that whole train fight and everything. Like, I think this season could be Daryl's like really amazing, awesome season, because Norman Reedus actually mentioned that like this season, Daryl is in Motorhead mode. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But anyways, I'm going to leave it here, though. Definitely post our thoughts down below on the episode. What did you think of that scene? Or am I interpreting the scene wrong? Like, to me, it just seems like Daryl is a lot more mad at everything. And he's making these very harsh decisions really easily. Like, it's not something he's thinking about. Like, even when that guy fell to the walkers, it's not like he was looking at that and just being like upset about it. He was looking at it like, that's what you get kind of thing. And this is just what I have to do. And I don't care. Like, it really seemed like that because I don't think he cares anymore. If you're just thinking about like the beginning of this episode 2, or even in episode 1, like the way he's taking care of Carol, he does not care about anyone else. And he just wants to get home. Honestly, what we saw there in this episode at the very end was exactly that. Daryl is going through some stuff right now. And it's awesome to see, to be honest, just from like, you know, I'm a huge fan of Daryl, and I don't know if we've ever seen like this angry, mad side to him before. So, yeah, it's kind of cool to see. It reminds me of like what Daryl in season 6, I would say, when he had like the bazooka or whatever. Like there was a lot of really cool scenes with Daryl then. So I think if we get scenes like that this season, that'd be really amazing. I've been hearing a lot about episode 5. So yeah, I'm excited for this season. I can't wait for episode 3. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.